Welcome to a new episode of the Kaijusaurus Podcast. I'm Steven. Ross is currently behind me because he's found my high school yearbook from 2010 and he's having a little peruse through it at the moment.
A little giggle, a little laughter.
Are you enjoying it, Ross? Jesus.
It is a laugh. The best one is where one of the guys has nothing else in his yearbook except in 10 years' time I will be flying planes, and that's it.
Well, you know, we're 7 years later, so nearly there.
Yeah, I hope he is flying planes up there in the sky. Look above you now, dear listeners. You may see this guy that went to our high school.
This is the podcast in which a practically lifelong fan of kaiju movies watches.
Now we start prefacing it.
Watches and reviews all 30 plus films in the Godzilla series with a relative newbie. Relative because you're not really anymore.
Relative because I'm your brother.
How are you, Ross?
I'm really good, Steve. I've got a little bit of a sniffle.
Yes.
And this is also quite quickly after we recorded our last one.
It is.
I think we want to just get in on it and get a little bit swifter in how many of these we're delivering at a time.
Exactly.
So I'm glad to be here.
As am I.
It's a nice afternoon. We've been filming a lot of evenings last little while, so it's nice to be back with you on a nice spring afternoon.
Although I get, and I think you're the same, I get mostly weary during the afternoon.
Yeah.
Like I feel a wee late afternoon nap a lot of the time.
Yeah,
so that's,
we might nap after this.
And, I mean, what better film to nap during than 1992's Godzilla vs. Mothra, aka Godzilla and Mothra, the battle for Earth, directed by Takao Okawara, sorry.
So, 1992.
1992.
Very swift after the last one.
Yeah, we're yearly again now.
Just cutting through them, just marting them out.
Yeah. Direct sequel to 1991's Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, the subject of our last episode, and the fourth overall in the Heisei series, which has interlinked continuity through the psychic character Migi Sigusa, who is back in this one. But
lovely as ever.
Like a lot of the human characters in this movie, doesn't really have much to do.
No, she doesn't need much.
Beyond maybe the halfway point. But we'll get to that.
But we'll get there.
Any other business, Ross?
As far as between us, I don't think so.
No.
Nah.
Wait, no, you're going to America again.
I'm going to America.
Did we cover this? You're going to America
no, I
again?
don't think so. I'm going to go see my fiancée before she comes back over. So I'm going to be cutting about the States for a wee bit.
And you've been going to some wedding fairs.
Oh yeah, I've been getting my wedding planning underway. Looked at some bars and some caterers and the big cake that I'm going to come out of.
Look for Rossi's wedding as a future episode of the
Oh
Kaijusaurus
my god,
Podcast.
yeah, absolutely. No, I'm going to make everyone watch like Godzilla films.
In which I review Rossi's wedding.
Yes, oh my goodness. You watch and review every one of my multiple weddings. Because this is only the first.
Hear that, Abby?
Yeah, hear that, Abby? I'm telling you now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Bold.
It's a big bold reveal there.
Okay then.
That'll be the most exciting thing that happens on this podcast.
What are you saying about this podcast?
I mean about the film. I don't mean about you, Stephen.
Oh, that's fair enough. Then.
Yeah. I didn't mean it.
Yeah,
like
well,
an insult.
well, your intention didn't come across.
Well,
that's funny because I am not big on this movie. And I get the impression that you weren't either.
it was fine.
Was it?
I watched it.
Like,
it was a movie. I saw it.
You got through it.
I did not fall asleep. You know how in the past
you were close. You were close a few times, weren't you?
I was getting a bit bleary-eyed, but I didn't even do the thing where I'm like lapsing out of consciousness for like a half second. You know, where you like have mini sleeps.
Startle awake.
Yeah, I didn't do any of that in this film, so I stayed awake for the entire film. In the mid-afternoon, Stephen. I did have a nice kind of
Friday.
On a Friday. I did have a nice kind of iron brew.
Iron brew made from girders.
Made from real girders. Used to be made in Falkirk. No longer is though.
Our hometown. Do you want a coaster for that?
I would take a coaster.
I'll see if I can fish one out. You do your thing.
You chat a bit. So I have a few questions as far as the general. Oh, dearie me, Stephen.
There's a coaster with an owl on it.
So let's start with the basics. So it's 1992. Can you tell me anything about the production of this film?
Yes, I can.
Okay, would you?
Maybe.
I would like it very much if you did.
Film. In that case, then. This film was conceived not as a Godzilla movie, but as a Mothra movie.
Right.
Which...
What was it now?
Makes a heck of a lot of sense. because it's not as if you could take Godzilla the movie entirely and nothing would be affected. Anyway, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. This started life as a script called Mothra versus Bacon, or Baggin, or
Bacon.
Bacon, or Bagend, or
Bacon of bagging.
Bacon or Baggin, whatever you want to call him, who cares, is a famous monster. Oh, I say famous for being considered for several projects, but never actually making it.
Never actually ended up anywhere.
Was considered for the first draft of The Return of Godzilla. Was considered for Mothra versus Bacon, and was considered for Godzilla versus Bacon. None of them happened.
No.
His only official appearance is in a video game called Super Godzilla, in which he's the final boss. And despite this non-existence, it's become something of a fan favourite, which is insane to me.
Yeah.
Because it's
not
the
real.
most... There's designs online and it's just like a generic fucking... It's like an Ultraman Monster of the Week. It's not really anything special. It's just... And yet, people always want what they can't have. Or what,
you
what
got
they,
an idea
or
of
what,
the character.
what they feel they've been denied. So, literally any time a new Godzilla film comes in production, you get this sect of people that are like, oh, is Bacon going to be in it? It's like, no.
No, yes.
That's it,
I'm absolutely going to join the Bacon crew.
So
the Bacon bunch. If you guys are out there, I'm with you. I'm 100% with you.
The Bacon Boys.
The Bacon Boys. Bringing home the bacon.
So it didn't become Mothra versus Bacon. I can't remember why, but thank God it didn't, because bacon sucks.
Anti-bacon.
And it became... I have been called an anti-bacon extremist
An anti-bacon.
before. Yeah. And so it became Godzilla versus Mothra, off the success of Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, pairing Godzilla with another big matinee monster name.
Yeah. And
So-
there already was a Godzilla Mothra film, right?
There sure was, Ross. You've seen it.
What was it called again?
It's called Mothra vs. Godzilla.
Mothra. Okay, right. Now I get the difference.
Made in 1964, and the antagonists were Happy Enterprises.
That's right. So...
Akira Takarada is in them both.
Yes.
He's back at it again.
Back at it again.
And-
Damn, Akira.
For the first time in a Godzilla movie since 1966.
Yeah, no, it'd been a while.
Ebera
I missed
horror
his
of the deep.
beautiful, bony, pointy face.
Known as Mr. Handsome
He is very
in Japan,
handsome.
yeah. One of the only stars to rival the popularity of Toshiro Mifune.
Who was Toshiro Mifune again?
You're so ignorant.
I know.
Japan's biggest ever movie star, starred in a lot of Akira Kurosawa's movies, like Seven Samurai, Yojimbo,
I see.
Sanjuro, The Hidden Fortress, Throne of Blood, The Bad Sleep Well.
The Bad Sleep Well. I didn't.
The Following.
The following. So 1992, this movie's getting made pretty swiftly after the last one, and you're saying that's kind of how a lot of this happens in the 90s, right?
Yeah, we're in the 90s, from 91 to 95 were yearly.
They're just spinging them out.
Yeah, they're just, like you said, farting them out.
And
that's reflected in the products themselves to me, but whatever.
So do you know anything about the director? Is it just a sort of
Not
picked off the
particularly.
shelf?
I don't really particularly know much about
Given the job.
director. Yeah.
So music is Akira Ifukube back as well.
Is back at it again.
So, shall we talk about this film?
Yes, I suppose we shall. Do you want to lead or shall I?
Well, you kind of already are. You kind of.
This was
it's no secret.
If this was a waltz, which it is in some way, who would lead?
Me.
Go for it then.
Right. So Godzilla versus Mothra was okay. It was fine.
It's not very good, Ross.
It was. No, I mean I've talked about this before in the podcast. Very rarely do I dislike a film.
True,
this was fine. It was kind of sleepy. Didn't much didn't happen. I liked the start of it. I was really into, for the most part, like the very beginning, when it was a solid rip-off of Indiana Jones.
Oh, gosh.
I was enjoying the jungle fun, but the longer it went, it really did not do anything particularly interesting. No. The monster fights were not particularly good. They didn't make a lot of sense in terms of exactly why they were happening.
Yeah.
Godzilla didn't do too much either, and wasn't really a particularly large part of the plot or the storyline.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
He also looked a bit gross. But that's my opinion. But that's the leopard Godzilla. That I think we've seen that one before.
Leopard? Did you say leopard or leper?
Leopard.
Leopard, right, okay.
Because he looks a bit like a jungle cat. He's got like big cheeks.
They did incorporate feline aspects into Godzilla's design in this. It was deliberate.
Oh, well, there we go.
What a guy you are.
I'm picking up on this stuff. So yeah, I mean, it was fine to watch. It was not the most exciting of the Godzilla films, but saying all that, there was still stuff that was enjoyable. There was still stuff that I found thoroughly funny.
Yeah.
So shall we just go through a quick basic run through?
Well, I was just going to make.
Yeah.
I was going to make a.
Oh, sorry, I guess we'll hear your opinion as well, Steven.
A declaration of principles, if you will, to quote Citizen Kane. You said that there's stuff in this that you thoroughly enjoyed and thoroughly found a bit funny, and I agree. Maybe however subversive that is, how intentional.
It's not intentional.
Exactly. As you know, historically, Godzilla films face sort of scorn and mockery for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Mostly directed at the older films of the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Yeah.
Whereas, as you know, I don't think those films deserve that at all. I don't think these films, the 90s films, deserve it either, but they deserve it more than the older films. Because these films are just not what they should be for the time they were made. They're not... To me, the 90s Godzilla movies past Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, which I explained that I really, really love. And it is trying, with a lot of big, high-concept ideas, even if they don't pull them off tremendously well. They play with them and they try. A lot of them past this, I think it's the series' lowest creative point. I would say this is the series' creative bankruptcy. Good lord. This is the series at its creative bankruptcy. They're not pushing themselves to create anything fundamentally new or exciting, or I just don't see the filmmakers as challenging themselves in these movies. Yeah,
it is not a hugely challenging film. It doesn't really introduce anything new, and it's a retread of the first one.
There's a lot of retreads.
Mothra versus Godzilla.
It's actually a retread, I would say, of the original Mothra, which you've not seen, but it's an excellent movie. King Kong versus Godzilla, partly.
Yeah.
With the monster being brought back on a large
boat thing.
Yeah, and Mothra versus Godzilla,
which has the big egg.
3 films that are all individually better than this thing.
Totally.
So, but yeah, and just to go off what I was saying as well, the reason I say that for the 90s movies is that even the special effects aren't what they should be for when this was produced.
Yeah.
I that's what I completely think. And even I made a note of this during the movie. During Batra's attack, when Batra's in its larva form and it's attacking, the miniature buildings are not good. They're not.
And that was something that we talked about in the last one, but I at least felt that they kind of did a good job of hiding it.
Yeah, and I feel like that sequence in particular makes a lot of fundamental errors. Usually you have to shoot monsters from, low angles, make them look imposing and large, and Batra's a lot of the time shot from high angles. So what we're seeing is looking down on Batra on what appears to be thoroughly deserted, empty streets, devoid of people, life, transport, whatever. And the illusion is just totally broken, whereas obviously, traditionally, you shoot them from a low angle, and the miniatures mask each other, basically. You should never show streets or street level
because there's not tiny people running around on them, so it just doesn't look as good.
And I don't want to sound overly critical, but I see these movies as not what they could or should have been. And I'll get into this more the further we go into the 90s movies. And if you think I'm being hypercritical, these movies did have a fairly generous budget in terms of Japanese cinema. And in 1995 to 1999, Gamera was resurrected in a trilogy of movies made for a fraction of the cost of these Godzilla movies. Infinitely better. And I mean infinitely. Across every aspect. The special effects in those movies are astounding and really, really... all done the same techniques, all practical, suitmation, that sort of thing, and just blasts these out of the water.
But yeah, if you have an intention and like a
But
bit
it
of creative
helps
spark.
Exactly, it helps that the special effects in those Gamera movies were directed by one Shinji Higuchi, who co-directed Shin Godzilla last year.
Oh well, really?
Yeah.
That's great then.
So yeah, that's my little, not quite a rant about the Heisei series, but yeah, it's a frustrating time in Godzilla history for me.
Yeah.
And I find it particularly frustrating because I think I said to you in the last episode, this is where I start to see like a real generational gap in the Godzilla fan base. And that a lot of these films are looked back really, really nostalgically upon by sort of like maybe just the generation above me of fans, because these films
they maybe saw.
Well, they were no longer getting released in America theatrically or on video, at least for a while. So fans had to, obviously, again, before the internet was a household thing, etc., they had to like really seek these out, like seek out bootlegs taken from Japanese videos and then with subtitles.
And that's part of the fun of it, as I'm sure you can attest.
Exactly. And so I think people look back on them nostalgically for that reason, and because they went to such efforts to find these things, they enjoyed them greatly. But it doesn't make a good film. with all due respect.
Your efforts were pointless.
Well, no.
But no, I know, I get exactly what you mean. That
effort maketh not a good movie.
Get that embroidered. Get a little embroidery that we'll put on your wall. No, I understand what you mean. That I could see.
Send it to Tim Burton.
He needs to know that.
Actually, you know what? He doesn't have fucking effort anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Fuck you, Tim.
I like Mars Attacks.
Yeah, Mars Attacks is good. I like Eddie Scissorhands.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Ed Wood.
I've not seen Ed Wood.
Ed Wood is his best movie.
Ed Wood is
to
good.
my mind.
Ed Wood is Ed good.
Ed Wood Scissorhands. Anyway, Ed Wood is dead.
I watched half of Sleepy Hollow and I liked that, but I fell asleep.
I mean,
it was quite late when
classic
I watched
rock.
it. So
let's Godzilla versus Mothra.
Let's do a run through of Godzilla versus Mothra.
Plot or opinions?
Plot first.
Cool.
So
meteorite.
A meteor strikes.
Bam. Ocean.
Mothra's egg. Mothra's egg.
Exposed.
Godzilla flailing around in lava and
iron brew.
In iron brew. A tasty drink that you should also try.
If you ever want to try iron brew, we'll start what's those little like boxes people send each other that are
like loot boxes.
Yeah. We'll send a
brew box.
A brew box full of Scottish treats.
A Scott box.
We'll just put Ross in it.
Yeah. A little Ross for you or your friend to give as a gift.
So Godzilla's woken up and
we cut to a temple in, is it like Indonesia or?
I believe so.
And we have Indiana Jones or Fujito Jones.
I know. God.
He is excavating, doing your classic escaping from a collapsing temple. He emerges from the temple only to be met by an armed guard. Mm-hmm. It is his ex-wife, Masako.
Yes.
A corporate kind of stooge called Ando, and
Mr. Dobashi.
Yeah, Mr. Dobashi.
Who was in Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah.
With
silver hair, the little short guy.
Yeah, and they want to recruit Fujito essentially to help excavate and explore this island that
the meteor strike has uncovered.
That the meteor strike has uncovered, yeah. And I believe they're sending Ando, who is a corporate stooge from the Majimoto. I wrote it down. I wrote Marutomo. See, I wrote down a mishearing of it the first time, but then later on in my notes I got the name right. So the Marutomo Corporation have an interest in this island as well and finding out what's there.
They do, yes.
So far, so classic, regular old kaiju. The part that's thoroughly enjoyable, that I did actually have a lot of fun is when Fujito, this sort of explorer, his ex-wife, where they have a bit, your classic divorced banter that they have, and this corporate stooge that's wearing a suit while they explore the jungle. And it's a fun, like maybe 10 minutes of jungle exploration.
Yeah.
The actor that plays Ando he's very funny. He's very funny.
He cropped up a few more times.
Good, because I do like him a lot, and he's enjoyable to watch. So
just the image is funny of him trawling through a jungle in a suit. Yeah.
I mean, you made the point that as the movie or as that sort of sequence goes on, he's slowly but surely like losing piece by piece of his suit until he's down to just his like white vest. But no, it's quite fun that they're like really unprepared in this jungle. So they discover cave painting.
They discover another Raiders of the Lost Ark ripoff.
Yes,
where
the
light shines through a portion of the cave and directs them to their next location. And I mean, God.
Yeah, there's a cave painting of Mothra. Mothra's coming, get ready.
Like, Mothra's coming, get ready. There's also Batra, the Black Mothra, which
the nega Mothra.
And all this stuff happens, and
they find a big puke-coloured egg.
They meet the puke and blue coloured egg.
Yeah, like
they meet the Shobijin again, who this time are called the Cosmos. The Mothra twins, the Cosmos, Cosmo and Wanda.
I wrote in my notes just them wee lassies are back.
Them wee lassies they are back.
Yeah, they're back. Back at it again with being small.
Good lord. You're not wrong. They are back.
Yeah.
And they are small.
And so they give us a little bit of backstory about Mothra. Mothra used to protect the Earth maybe 12,000 years ago, and I quote, the Earth was offended by the climate change the Earth that humans had done, because back then there was an advanced society and they were fucking about with the climate and fucking about with nature.
I mean,
Mothra didn't like that.
Throw it out there.
Planet Earth didn't like that. So Black Mothra, aka Batra, Battery was created to set the balance.
Why not? Yeah.
The civilization's now gone. Mothra and Batra are at rest.
They're away, having a nap.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So the Maritomo Corporation has been... Am I right in saying they've been deforesting Infant Island, or like have been involved, not necessarily that area, but...
Yeah,
They're involved with lots of climate changes and things like that.
Building a golf
I
course.
think that the Shobijin...
I just said Cosmos.
The Cosmos say that I think is really, really funny is when they're talking to the trio, Fujito, Masako, and Ando, and they say something along the lines of, we hope that the humans don't make the same mistakes as last time. We trust you to look after things, and that is very funny.
That's very funny because the Cosmos get repeatedly kidnapped,
bought off, and tried to trade it off, like they did in the last one that they were in, right? There was a big deal of them getting made to be like little tiny showgirls.
So yeah, Mothra comes to the mainland to rescue the Cosmos, and this
Batra attacks,
and Godzilla's back, and then a series of events unfolds that leads to a big three-way battle.
It's like Mothra versus Batra versus Godzilla.
Godzilla.
Then Godzilla versus Batra and Mothra. Then
more.
Yeah, then more. So yeah, they fight for most of the film.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get on with actually discussing.
Yeah, let's get in and discussing this film.
This was either the second or third Godzilla movie I saw.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing that you didn't just get here and go, nah, you know what? This is, you know what? I thought maybe I'd discovered a lifelong passion here. Nah, I'm alright. Nah, it's good. I'll just go back to...
Because in the last episode I related how my dad brought back Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah from a video shop down in England. And that shop also had Godzilla vs. Mothra. So when I enjoyed Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, my dad got in touch with this video shop and got them to send up Godzilla vs. Mothra.
That's cool of him.
Yeah, it was very cool of him, yeah. And when I was little, I loved this movie. Really, really did like it. But the older I got and the more I watched it, I realised how slight it is.
Yeah, it's just not a lot to it. That's why I can't say it's bad, because it's not bad. It's just there's just nothing going on in it.
It's aggressively average.
Yeah, that's it. And in many ways, it's more of a sin.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's just I just get sleepy in it.
It's better for a film to get
Suck.
a strong emotion out of you, whether that's bad, than it is for it just to feel nothing.
Yeah. I felt nothing.
Yeah.
I felt nothing.
That's one for the poster. Godzilla vs. Mothra.
I felt nothing.
Roz Menzies, Kaijusaurus
3 stars, Roz Menzies. Half a thumb.
3 stars, that's generous. Half a thumb? A half raised thumb.
3/4 of an inch lowered thumb.
Yeah.
So... Thanks for listening. The Mothra song was really good.
I mean, yeah.
When the Mothra song kicks in, it's always banging.
Godzilla shouldn't be in this movie.
Yeah, agreed. Because he didn't do fuck all.
It should be a Mothra movie.
Yeah, that's it. It was interesting to watch this movie because for the first time, it felt like Godzilla was almost the bad guy. Now, in other films, Godzilla has been an antagonist and has been, a force to be reckoned with and isn't helping the the humans. But this was the first time that there was almost like zero connection to Godzilla. The characters were on Mothra's side. The whole film's on Mothra's side. And Mothra is a good guy because he saves Godzilla, despite the fact that Mothra does more destruction of...
I mean... Yeah.
Yeah. But
it's for a good cause.
It's for a good cause. He wanted to save his wee pals, so... so it's fine, I guess. Batra is pretty cool, honestly. The design is pretty cool.
Batra's alright, yeah.
But, again, they don't really do enough with Batra. They don't really explain how Batra works. Batra just can cut about.
It's too long.
Yeah, how long is the movie?
I don't even think it's that long. It's about an hour and 40 odd.
Oh. I asked Steven how long the movie had to go, and he wouldn't tell me because he knew that it would make me just get really antsy for it to finish.
Roz asked how long it had to go before Mothra had transformed.
Yeah.
So that's
a good sign. That gives you a sign of where I was at in this film. I liked the businessman with the mustache. Because whenever the city was getting destroyed, Tomokani, he would just look out the window and be like, "Go for it, destroy the city, see if I care. I don't care."
Isn't it interesting though that see if this was, and I don't want to just be like, "Oh, the older films are automatically better," but if this was a '60s movie by Yashiro Honda or something, the villain would get the big evil businessman villain would get his comeuppance.
Yeah, there would be some sort of message to the film, but there's just nothing.
I mean, they play about with environmentalism in this movie, but it never feels sincere.
Yeah,
it never feels sincere because
like mouth service.
It's so blunt.
Yeah,
it's so fucking blunt. Like it just has characters talking at the screen about how damaging the environment is bad.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, and it's almost like that is a running line through a lot of the modern Godzilla films and all the Godzilla films, really. So to just say the usual theme that's in a lot of these movies isn't enough. You know, there needs to be something else or a little bit more of a heavy image.
Like in King Ghidorah last year, we explored how to be cautious about rampant capitalism, which is an interesting thing because that was made during a very prosperous time for Japan. But this movie just
nothing. That's it. It's just nothing.
The whole movie is phoned in.
Yeah, totally.
And it's a shame because it brings back Akira Takarada.
Yeah,
who it's always great to see.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to watch him kind of run this lab. So that lab appeared in other Godzilla films?
No, but there's similar control rooms.
Yeah, so the idea is that it's now almost like a little Godzilla science task force squad.
That officially becomes a thing in the next movie.
Excellent.
G-Force.
Don't tell me anymore.
I will not.
So the wee short guy. He was in the last one.
Dobashi, yes.
But his pal isn't.
No.
Because they were a little double act.
They were,
so I'm in this movie and you aren't.
But he's kind of a double act with Takarada in this one.
And it works.
Yeah.
Or, it works out well enough.
What is all this? What's happening to our planet?
Is that a dub?
He's given the most ridiculous fucking dub voice ever. And later he goes, "Oh no! Oh no! What could possibly stop all of them?"
When the two human characters, when Ando and Fujito were having a fight on the boat about whether or not to release the Godzilla egg.
A literal fist, quote-unquote fist
fight. Stephen made a funny comment that it would be exactly how a fight between us would go, with you being Fujito and me being Ando.
It's true, because they just sort of leap at each other and throw each other around a bit. And flail,
Then you get a good sucker punch in.
And it's pathetic. And it's maybe the worst.
So if you watch that scene, that is exactly... And we have fought before, physically, so that is how all our fights look like.
Yeah, but not
life or death.
Not in sincerity.
Not over a giant egg.
We haven't fought in sincerity, but we've wrestled.
Boy fights.
Boy fights, exactly.
Yeah, we've had boy fights.
George Bluth.
Yeah.
That is the shittiest fist fight, or human fight, whatever, in the entire Godzilla series, because it's just... There's no music or anything. Yeah, it's shot really badly. It's shot from a distance for some reason.
They're just flailing about this boat.
It's just... There's so many things that are so unimpressive about this movie. Mothra doesn't even look good.
No, Mothra looks gross.
Looks like
the egg looks gross.
Looks like a big plush.
Yeah. And
then Mothra's too thick in this movie.
Far too thick.
Yeah, she's got big chubby torso
torso.
Very fuzzy, very and it just I don't know, man.
Like a bee's ass. Yeah, I agree. And Godzilla looked fine. I don't know if they ever really got close-ups of him.
A bee's ass.
A bee's ass. He did look like they've got their fuzzy little behind. A beehind. Can we just change to a B movie podcast?
Mothra versus B movie.
Mothra, Godzilla versus Barry B. Benson. That would be good. Carrying on from our Seinfeld chats that we've had in the past.
We're only half an hour in and I'm worried I don't have much more to say.
Yeah, well, how about why don't we chat for a little bit if someone gave us, it's Tomoyuki Tanaka. Is Tomoyuki Tanaka still producing this film?
This film, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if Tomoyuki Tanaka phoned you...
He's dead.
I know. Let's assume that it is 1991 because obviously they're making the film in 1991 to release it in
wasn't born.
But you are the age that you are now.
Right,
okay, if you were going to remake...
They made it in 92 for release in December 92.
Okay!
You bloody idiot. I'm going to fight now.
Yeah, let's fight now.
Shall I just put in the audio?
Oh! I just been punched, Steven. That was Ow. Steven didn't actually hit me. I want to preface that. No Rosses were harmed. Ow! Again, Steven did not hit me there.
This is a shit podcast.
This is the best one. Oh, so, right. Can you think... Let's talk about how we could have remade or changed and made this film better. How about that? I think we could squeeze like 7 minutes out of that, man.
Cool, let's go for it.
Right, yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, I would have kept it as a solo Mothra movie. Probably. Yeah. I would have had less characters.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So that there's more interaction between the factions of characters, because there's very much a sort of stark divide, I feel, in a lot of the characters and where they are.
Yeah.
They're either on the island, or in the communications room, or at the corporate building.
Yeah, and they never really interact or meet in any significant way.
I would fucking give the fucking human protagonists something to fucking do during the finale. Because once again, like in Godzilla vs. Megalon and to an extent Godzilla vs. Gigan, things like that, the human protagonists are just reduced to watching the monsters fight from a distance.
Yeah, they're just standing about.
Occasionally offering commentary.
Standing about like a bunch of pricks.
Yeah, and like I said, in the best 60s movies by guys like Ishiro Honda and Jun Fukuda, the human action and the monster action interacted and spurred each other on. Yeah, and spurred each other on. And there's none of that here. It happened to an extent in versus King Ghidorah, but only by default, really, because Amy was inside Mecha King Ghidorah and had to fight Godzilla, whereas the rest did just look on. But it's just... I feel like I'm past the age now, and I don't want to sound like a grumpy old fan. I feel like I'm past the age now where
fan, take a look at my life. I'm a lot like you.
I can't just watch monsters fighting
without
context or reason or
character
or a reason
motivation
or a reason to care.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm not like a 3-year-old looking for an animal at the zoo. I'm not watching these movies just waiting for the monsters to appear. I mean, yes, at the end of the day, it is the main draw, I guess. But like we've discussed so many times, the monster action and what the monsters do and the monster appearances and the monster stories are pointless without the human aspect that frames it.
Yeah.
It gives it context, it gives it meaning, it gives
makes it very boring otherwise.
It gives us investment as audience members. Mm-hmm. And if the human protagonists in the movie are just doing the same as what I'm doing in the audience, which is watching the monsters fight
like a prick,
then it's very boring.
Absolutely. I would remake it. I think for a remake, let's see, I think it needs
Val Kilmer as the Cosmos. Val Cosmos.
No, I would get the I'm trying to think of famous twins.
The twins from Gremlins 2.
I've not seen Gremlins 2.
Yeah, fucking what? Really? Yeah. I bought the Blu-ray a few weeks ago. Right, pause. We're going to watch Gremlins 2.
Surprise! This is actually a Gremlins 2 podcast. We'll be right back.
Gremlins 2 is really, really fucking awesome.
Yeah, and it's
well,
one...
We discussed Back to the Future 2 last one, so
Yeah.
here's another Spielberg-produced sequel. Gremlins 2 is fucking awesome because the Gremlins are let loose in a New York office building.
Oh.
And the main quest for the characters is not to let them escape from that building. And like the head of it is a sort of Donald Trump, Ted Turner-esque figure.
Amazing.
Who is just obsessed with looking heroic. And it's so funny.
That sounds great.
The
I
whole
wanna
film
watch
is
that.
just like a demented Looney Tunes cartoon, and is even bookended by animated segments featuring the Looney Tunes.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's
I
so
want to watch
good.
that.
It's so fucking good. It's better than this film.
Film's better than this film.
Christopher Lee is in it.
Great. Amazing.
Did you have to think about who Christopher Lee was there?
Just a little bit. Like,
Lord Summerisle in The Wicker Man, which I'm wearing a t-shirt of right now.
I had, because it was an American film, I thought Christopher Lloyd for a second. Then I went, no.
That's fair. There he is, Christopher Lee.
Yes, you're wearing a Wicker Man shirt. Can you all see it, listeners?
Anyway, Godzilla vs. Mothra. How would you make it, Ross?
How would I make it? So, I think that there needs to be... well, I mean, I don't know. Let's see. I'm trying to actually think about...
Didn't think this one through.
I didn't think this one through. You did pretty good. I mean, instead, I'm trying to actually think, genuinely.
I would trim it a lot as well.
Yeah, just shorten it down. Just give us, keep us on the island almost. Explore the concept of a Batra more. I think actually make the movie about Mothra and Batra, good and dark,
That's what's a shame.
Because that was an interesting concept. When that started getting introduced, I was intrigued, but they don't really do anything beyond it than just to have another big moth.
There's nothing interesting about Infant Island in this movie. Really.
Yeah, Infant Island is normally...
In previous movies, we have it, absolutely barren due to nuclear devastation, nuclear testing in the area. And with this tribe of people still somehow surviving, worshipping Mothra and worshipping the cosmos. But in this, it just looks like any old island.
Yeah.
Like you'd find in a standard adventure movie.
Yeah, and there's no... There's no one there.
It doesn't look like, this...
mythical
yeah,
island.
That's home to, weird animals and weird creatures and... I don't know.
Yeah, it's just some jungle. I've seen some jungle. I've seen Welcome to the Jungle, mate. I know what the jungle looks like. The Rock. If he'd put The Rock in this movie, it would have been great.
Rock the Dwayne Johnson.
He's
going to be starring in a monster movie.
Is he?
An adaptation of the video game Rampage.
Oh, cool.
Not a fan of Rampage, but whatever. I'll probably see it.
Why do you not like Rampage?
Boring.
Yeah, it's a pretty boring game.
Yeah.
You smash windows.
Yeah. You do maybe 3 levels at most, and you're like...
Yeah, then you're like, what am I doing? This is boring. That's my only suggestion, is just put Dwayne The Rock Johnson in it and make it about Batra.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I think you're right that Godzilla didn't need to be here, and it shows, and it is just... If you enter a film without having a strong sense of where it's going to go and a strong, even just moral or just storyline behind it, it just plods along, just framing the monster battles in a not particularly exciting way.
Absolutely.
And as an audience member, I was not riveted. I was not shaken. I was
not stirred.
I was not stirred.
With the exception of 1984's The Return of Godzilla, which I think is a near perfect Godzilla movie. All of the Heisei movies suffer from their editors or directors, whatever, just not being ruthless enough in the cutting room.
Gotta be ruthless.
They are all too long.
Yeah, they should be 60 minutes.
In every Heisei movie, post 60 minutes, really.
Yes, being bold.
You would enjoy the old Universal horror movies, because those are like an hour and 5.
Yum.
An hour and
fucking brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah, and you can watch 5 in a day.
You can watch 24 in a day. Well, maybe 23.
Stop being silly.
Okay.
You can... Ross, can you fucking take this seriously, please?
No, Stephen, I can't.
What was I fucking talking about?
Cutting room.
Because all of the Heisei movies, to my mind, Ross, from Biollante through to 1995's conclusion, all reach a sort of period in the middle of the movie where it just grinds to a halt and starts to plod along.
Agreed.
And
I mean, even the last one, which I liked, did the same thing.
Biollante, King Ghidorah, and Mothra, 3 Versus films that you've seen so far, they all have the same sort of structure that, Godzilla fights the title monster in the middle of the movie, And then Godzilla does a sort of solo thing for a bit, you know. In Biollante, he goes on a rampage. In King Ghidorah, he goes on a rampage. In this, he goes away for a bit and then is attacked by the military when he comes back on land.
Yeah, he comes back out of Mount Fuji.
And then in the finale, we have Godzilla battling the evolved form of the title monster.
Oh.
And, I mean, it happens again.
Seems they're showing.
It happens again, Ross,
Yeah.
after this movie.
Oh no.
Yeah, exactly. And
Can't wait.
And to me, this movie isn't even the low point of the 90s.
Oh no, Steven, don't tell me these things. Don't tell me this.
And I feel like I'm really ragging on this movie. And, you know, maybe I am.
The time just had to come.
You've done very, very well.
I'm
to like
solidly enjoyed. You quote me in every other podcast. Well, I liked it.
You've reached 1992 and it's the first film you haven't enjoyed.
Yeah.
Can we fairly say that?
We can fairly say that.
Are you able to say that now? Because earlier you were sugarcoating it.
No, I mean, I stand by it.
You were putting some whipped cream over it.
I stand by it. It's fine. It's a bad movie in that it's boring.
You're never going to watch it again.
Yeah, I would prefer never to watch that again.
Unless we did all this over
Yeah,
again.
unless... Oh, Stephen, we haven't been recording.
Fuck.
Well, I don't know why we need to watch the movie again to do that.
This is the Kaijusaurus podcast where we watch and review all Kaijusaurus podcast episodes
and give us feedback, commentary, and special guests. So the fan consensus of this movie is similar.
I think so. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, people,
like I said, it's harder to tell with these movies.
Yeah, people are weirdos, man. People are strange.
My thing with this run of movies we're on at the moment, and we've discussed this in previous episodes, is the growing influence of Hollywood. And it goes beyond influence. It comes to the theft of ideas. Let's face it, it does. There are things that are directly plucked from better movies.
Yeah, like your Raiders opening.
Like the Raiders stuff and the Terminator stuff in Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. And Godzilla films and Toho filmmakers historically are better than that.
Yeah, and we're able to be inventive and creative.
Exactly.
And new.
They do not need to rely on ripping off Hollywood ideas to appeal to the film's intended audience, in my opinion. Ironically, this film was a huge success.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it now?
Of course. I think it was. It was one of, if not the highest grossing domestically produced Japanese feature that year.
Really?
And took home some Japanese Academy Awards.
Good for them.
But the Godzilla films are better than this. And, you know, Shin Godzilla has shown that. There's not an ounce of Hollywood in that, to me.
Yeah.
And they don't need to... They shouldn't have plucked ideas from Hollywood and interpreted them for use in a Godzilla film. Because they just don't work.
Yeah, that's it. I've seen it before. And you made the point that, I mean, they do a solid, like, reference / rip-off opening of Raiders of the Lost Ark, a film which you say...
By this point was 11 years ago. Yeah.
Deary me. That would be like a film...
I could almost count as parody.
Yeah. That would be like a film coming out with like a Dark Knight Rises, or Dark Knight opening parody.
Yeah.
Or like, no, it'd be a Batman Begins, 2005, Batman Begins.
No, do you know what it would feel like? If you want to take it even more extreme and like feel the cringe. It would be like if a film in the year of our Lord, 2017, did a Matrix joke.
Oh.
Right?
You mean the Matrix remake?
The Rematrix.
Dan, are you making it?
But right?
Yeah, no, totally, absolutely. Like, it's just so far removed
rolling your eyes and groaning, and that phenomenon's over.
Yeah, it missed the boat. I mean, you can argue it was like 2 or 3 years since...
It was 2 years since Last Crusade, but...
Why not do a Last Crusade reference then?
It's Raiders that it lifts the image from.
Yeah.
Are you done?
I think, as far as my notes go, and as far as anything pressing I had to say about this film, I don't have much else. Now, we knew this would come. We knew the sort of...
Don't be upset, dear listener.
We knew, a sort of more tepid kind of... Not much to say kind of podcast.
It was going to happen.
But I think we've done a good job.
We have, yeah.
We're what? 44 minutes.
Yeah,
that's
all right.
Brilliant.
That's
I was
It is,
was
yeah.
looking at that screen at like 23 minutes and thinking, oh, this is it, we're done.
You've had a bit of you've had a pen mark on your face this whole time, and I've just been looking at it.
Did you pen me?
I don't think I did, but that's
Did I accidentally pen
that's
myself?
something I would do.
Yeah.
So
We were like having little fisticuff fights when we were watching the film at one point. No! Stephen just did the circle thing, you know, where if you see it, they have to hit you. I would never hit you like that, Stephen.
What?
How often do I do that?
never. What
Because I'm a nice boy and I don't hit.
What did you like about this film?
I liked I like the lead for the most part. He kind of got the human element stuff gets kind of falls away near the end, but I actually found the sort of charming, lazy
He's not a typical
like, adventurous type was fun. I liked Ando a lot. That actor was great, and I liked it would have been nice to see more relationship between him and the ex-wife. I know they kind of get back together a little bit, and that they're both.
I guess really, they do.
But he kind of gets just really quickly introduced to the daughter that he had with her that he'd never met before. Also, he needs to pay his alimony. Pay your child support.
Bad man.
Don't go to family court. Just pay it. Fathers for Justice.
That's a throwback.
They're still cutting him out.
Are they really?
Yeah. Do you remember him that climbed up Buckingham Palace dressed as Batman or Robin
I do,
or something?
yeah. The protagonist is interesting, the sort of adventurer thief, but beyond that, there's no reason for him to be an adventurer thief.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it would have, if they'd done more with Batra and Mothra and kept it on Infant Island and old temples and ancient histories and civilizations, then that would have been a perfect protagonist to use.
Yeah.
And almost representing this unwilling and unreluctant market business force.
Yeah.
With, the big businessman being the one that's pressuring him to do bad things. But
Absolutely,
Ando sort of has a turn and wants to support Fujito. The daughter gets involved. You could literally steal from The Lost World, which has come out by this... No, it hasn't come out by this point.
Lost World's 97.
Oh, right, so Jurassic Park hasn't even come out
Well,
yet.
Arthur Conan Doyle's The Lost World was published in...
But yeah, I mean, you could even have, like... the daughter stows away or something and wants to meet the dad or something like that.
Something interesting.
Yeah, and just, no, we've got a child with us. Well, we need to go deep into the Mothra temple.
Something interesting.
This is how I would remake it. It's all coming to me now. It was blank earlier.
Cool, go for it.
No, that's about it. Pitch. Yeah, it'd be that just island fun. Another island adventure in the same vein of
the Jun Fukuda films. Yeah.
But maybe this more like jungle adventure. Yeah. Tropical.
Yeah.
So I there was some things to like. As I say, the Shibijin are always fun to see. The Mothra song always gets me going.
Yeah,
this one wasn't quite as intense as some of the other ones, but it was a good solid song.
It's just everything this film plays with is half-baked.
And it has been done before.
It's been done before.
All the Mothra stuff, the Mothra stuff that
before.
is cool has been done before. The Godzilla stuff that is cool has been done before. Even the storyline stuff that was enjoyable
has all been done before in better movies.
Yeah.
And they never really commit to any one thing. Are we an anti-corporate movie? Are we an environmentalist movie? Choose your message and deliver it.
Yeah.
Well.
Don't hum, don't haw.
Don't just shout it at the audience.
Totally.
And it's not a very interesting movie.
It's not.
It's far too fucking long.
It's very long.
An hour and 40. It's too fucking long.
It's bad when an hour and 40 is far too long.
Yeah.
60 minutes. Mandatory film. All films.
Do I do a cut?
Yeah, let's do a cut.
Oh gosh.
Should we wrap that up then?
Let's do it. Yeah, I'm happy to. I'm happy to.
Yeah, I'm happy to as well. Now,
boys and girls,
there is. Well, let me start that again. So, I want to leave on a positive note, and this is unfortunately just because it's a pretty tepid film. It has kind of been us dunking on Godzilla, which we don't want to do. I don't want to dunk on Godzilla. I look forward to all the fun, and because I know Shin Godzilla will eventually be the zenith of what the Godzilla films coming out so far, it's nice to know that things will definitely improve. I am still very much looking forward to the new Godzilla films that I'm going to watch for the Heisei period. I'm looking forward to the 90s. We're coming up for... When's the next film made?
93.
The year I was born. I want to see what was going on in the world of Godzilla in the year of our Lord, 1993.
And you will, in Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2.
Excellent. My boy's back.
Several boys are back.
Several boys are back in several towns.
They certainly are, aren't they?
I really look forward to it.
There's 4 monsters in the next one.
What? Bring it. We'll see how it goes.
4 including Godzilla.
But yeah, no, I'm going to try and just go in, as I always do, with an open mind, eager to have fun, and eager to enjoy.
And a grateful heart.
Thank you.
To quote Scrooge in The Muppet Christmas Carol.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, dear listeners. Thank you, the greater Toho and Godzilla crew, cast, friends, family.
Wherever you are.
Thank the fans.
After all this, I still struggle to say I dislike this movie.
Yeah.
But it's not great.
When I saw a friend of mine, this cracks him up. We saw World War Z.
Oh, sure, yeah.
At the cinema. And he kind of liked it, and he asked what I thought of it. And I took a very long pause, and I just said, I saw it. And it cracks him up. And that's what I now say to movies that I just think were so just criminally boring that it's unforgivable. And it's, yeah, I saw it. I watched the movie.
Well,
I went to the cinema. I saw the movie. It was a movie that you put on your Blu-ray player, and we watched even. And then we talked about it on our podcast.
We sure
That's
did.
what I thought of Mothra versus Godzilla, or Godzilla versus Mothra.
This has been, as it always shall be, the Kaijusaurus Podcast. We are on all the usual social media, which we'll list in the show notes. And thank you for listening. Leave us a rating or review on iTunes if you're feeling generous, or if you
give us a tumble, give us a Facebook like, a share, a retweet.
We are at home on SoundCloud, and kaijusaurus.tumblr.com is the blog from which this podcast is spun off. I have been Stephen, and Ross has been Ross.
Good night.
Good night.
Good afternoon, sorry.
Good afternoon.
Or good evening now. It's coming up for 5 o'clock.
Yeah, it's nearly 5. It's 20 to 5 now. So yeah, have a good Friday night. And we'll see you next time for Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2.
Yeah, boy!